I have to remind everybody that this is a formal meeting, and I can advise that members of the public will be given an opportunity to speak during public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. And could I please ask everybody to mute their microphones when they're not speaking? So the first item on the agenda is apologies, and we have apologies from councillors Jones, Knight and Woodhead. I think everybody else is here. Do we have any declarations of interest in any item on the agenda, please? No. Thank you. Right, well, I do have a chairman's announcement. I'm going to embarrass the clerk. He's just completed the Principles of Internal Auditing for Local Councils, which is an SLCC course. The modules include Introduction to Internal Audit, the Practitioner's Guide, the AGAR, General Governance, Finance and Personnel. And Peter did very well. I won't actually tell you how much the percentage was, but it was. So congratulations, Peter. Thank you very much. Right, do we have any members of the public online? Sorry. Okay, in that case, we're on to members' questions. Do members have any questions, please? No? Okay, so we're on to the minutes of the meeting. So this is the meeting on the 6th of February. Sorry, it's not. It's the minutes of the meeting on the 21st of May. I'm looking at the wrong date. So first of all, accuracy. So I'm on page 7 of the pack. Any, Councillor Alvin?
Page 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 8A, just for completeness really, it says it was agreed to change the tense to ensure consistency. It's actually the person rather than the tense. So this actually the person, so it's a third person versus second person.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm not with it tonight. So was there anything on page 6?
Just one minor, given that Miss Calvert is here, all the other members have an initial, and Helen's has got her full name on there, just for consistency, we can have it so it's initials.
Thank you. So nothing else on page 7? No. So page 8. Then page 9 is the exempt items. Is there anything that can be raised in this session? I'll come back to the exempt minutes when we go into exempt session then. Okay, so we're back to matters arising from the minutes. Are there any matters arising that aren't on the agenda, please? No? Okay. In that case, I can move on. Sorry? Yes. I'm assuming it's okay for me to sign them. Yeah, thank you. Right, so items for consideration. We've got 3 policies that we deferred from last time. So the first one is the capability and absence management policy. We've had some changes to it, and you've got track changes on the policies. Helen, is there anything else you wanted to say? You've done a covering report.
Nothing further to add. I've made the changes that were requested at the last meeting, and they can be seen on the track changes.
Thank you. So, Councillor Strawn.
Yes, are we going to deal with each individual policy separately, or are we going to treat the whole lot in one go
I
into.
think we should do them separately
Yeah.
and approve them separately, but if you've got a point that applies to all, you could perhaps explain that.
Not at the moment. I've got one particular section that I've got some comments on.
Okay, so we're on the capability and absence management policy. Are there any issues now that people want to raise? Councillor Alban?
Got a few comments. So on page 16 of the pack, at 6.2, there's reference to a performance review document. That seems to be the first reference to it, and I don't think there's another reference to it afterwards. So I'm just wondering if this is the output from previous previous paragraphs, like 5.3, 5.5, 5.6, because that talks about an action plan. I'm just wondering if they're the same thing.
So yes,
Yeah, they're basically the same thing, just keeping a log of performance.
so it's to do with the particular issue, it's not a general policy. This is to do with the actual review taking place.
Okay, but I'm still not sure what the performance review document is and how it's referenced just that once.
Well, it's pretty much if you are doing monitoring someone's performance, then you keep a log of it. You know, when you're catching up and you're meeting to sort of measure improvements.
So it's the log of what's happened so far in this particular issue with this particular employee. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'd have thought it would be referred to before this point.
Okay. So maybe we should just put something earlier that a performance review log perhaps would be better to say that it would be kept for reference.
Yeah, what I was going to say was obviously there's a formal appraisal process that takes place and there's also monthly supervision sessions that take place. Within the monthly supervision sessions, then managers obviously take notes and if there are issues of concern connected to performance, then obviously there is the opportunity to escalate that if the performance isn't improved. When you then formally go into a formal performance review, then of course then you've got a key document that then you use as a point of reference to then measure to see how people then perform against those targets. Yeah, so there's different iterations of that.
Yeah, just in relation to that, we're talking specifically about a capability and absence management policy. So I think given that we're talking about specific concerns, and you're quite right, it's not referred to anywhere else, I think it does need to be documented how you're going to record any actions and then with present review. So I think that's important, that's in there.
Yeah. I've got an issue that applies to all of the documents, because in all cases we talk about when the issue gets serious in any of these policies, that the member of staff can have another member of staff with them or their union rep. It is not good practice for a manager to do that sort of thing on their own. They should have somebody else with them. And I suggest that that somebody else should be a note taker, because then the person who's dealing with it doesn't have to record all the notes. But what it does mean then that there is somebody else there if there's ever a query about who said what at a previous session. So I think we need to add that in all of these that there will be a note taker present with the manager who's handling the issue. Are people happy with that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else on this particular capability and absence management policy? Councillor Strawn.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Specifically with regard to the absence policy, I think we just need to look at the definition side. I have emailed a number of the clerk and yourself about my concern over the definition of doctor, GP, healthcare professional. It's all a little bit mixed up. I think it should be brought forward to the beginning of the document when it first is raised as to the description as to what it is, because a GP and a doctor could be meant to be the same thing. So I think there's a little bit of conflict there. And again, being slightly pedantic, there's reference to employees frequently throughout there, and it should be employee apostrophe S not employees in the plural. I think that's important that we get that right. And I think it's basically just that. I think it's much better. It reads much better now, subject to those little tweaks.
What are we suggesting should be the definition? Is it GPs and other healthcare professionals, or just healthcare professionals?
There was a definition incorporated in the document of what a GP or doctor was. So I think it's a appropriate medical professional is what we're really looking at. Doesn't, because again, as we've pointed out, seeing your doctor or your GP isn't always possible. So it needs to be so that it is covered there. But you could mix.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
So it's just mixing up the definition. So it's just a little bit of tidying up. The principle's absolutely fine. It's just getting the definitions right.
Because it could be a medical professional from a hospital. It doesn't necessarily need to be from a GP's practice. Yeah. Councillor Barrett, I think. So it's authorised medical professional. Okay, so you think authorised healthcare professional is better? Okay, I think we'll make a note of that. Councillor Foster, did you want to come in?
Again, perhaps a little bit pedantic, but trying to be consistent with the manager. It's either a capital M or small m, and it's not consistent all the way through the document. So pedantic maybe, but it's in terms of in the absence management policy, paragraph 1.1, just needs a slight tweak in the wording, just around punctuation. I'm not going to have a look at it, you'll see what I mean. In relation to paragraph 3.4 of the absence policy, action taken under the sickness absence policy is referred to. Is that different to this absence policy? So paragraph 3.4 of the absence policy, we're on page 23. So it says action taken under the sickness absence policy. Is that separate to the absence policy, or should it just refer to the absence policy? Is there one or the other?
Take out the word sickness from it.
Okay. Yeah. And just on the paragraph just above that, where it says informed of when, just the wording seems a bit off. So the second paragraph down on page 23, it says informed of. Yeah, that's.
Okay, Councillor Strong again.
Thank you. Sorry to come back. I found the definition pages. I was looking at it's page 30, because in 15.1 there's reference to the employee's general practitioner and then a reference GP. And yet the GP is defined much earlier, or referred to as GP throughout before that part of the document. So that was the point I was trying to make about it being defined earlier. And the other point from a practical point of view is 14.3, is that which says where short-term absences, they may be required to visit their doctor on the first day of any subsequent absence. Now, just knowing the way the National Health Service at the moment, that might be a minor miracle to actually achieve that. So is that it's got to be practical, it's got to be workable. And what happens if they can't visit on that first day? So that is a potential issue. Not because I don't think the principle's wrong, but it's just the practicalities that it may not be feasible.
But presumably on your first point, you're happy now that we're going to use Gary's definition of authorised healthcare professional throughout the document.
That makes perfect sense. It's just the fact that there is specific reference to the GP on the first day. So with a healthcare professional or authorised healthcare professional, even that may not be possible.
Well, we hope it will be in due course, don't we?
Perhaps it should be the earliest, the earliest possible. I can't think of the right words, but the earliest occasion possible.
Okay.
Yes, unless me reading it incorrectly, but capability, policy and procedure. So page 2 in the back, number 13, in the agenda. So you've got point 1 introduction, then you turn over the page and then it jumps down to point 5. Is that correct? 2, 3, 4.
You're right.
Well, I mean, it was like that last time. I can change it to start at point 1.5 on page 14.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, just a mismatch of number sequence, it's fine, as long as there's information on the sequence.
Can you just check that, please, when you go through it and make the other alterations?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Both of you again. Councillor Alban first.
Yeah, I've got some more points, but on page 17 of the pack, paragraph 7.2, the employee will be given a final improvement period of no more than 4 weeks. I'm just wondering, is 4 weeks appropriate in all circumstances? There might be some improvement required that will take longer than 4 weeks to show. I just wondered if that's a little bit sort of.
But this is after quite a long procedure, isn't it? So this is not the first time. So they're looking.
Oh, there's a final one. Yeah, you're quite right. Okay. I have another point. So on page 19, para 10.6, it talks about a grievance. So I'd have thought that should be appeal rather than grievance.
Yes, I looked at that and thought it was a funny word here because we're deliberately saying this is not part of the grievance procedure. So 10.6, if we can find another word in Councillor Alban suggesting appeal. So the employee will present the details of the appeal to the manager or council's appeal panel. And the manager will outline the reasons for the management decision. So can we change grievance to appeal, please?
Also on page 21, para 13.1, it talks about the occupational health advisor's opinion. If the employee will not permanently be prevented from performing his or her duties, it doesn't say what might happen if it is permanently. So this is talking about when an employee could come back, but if an employee could never come back, that's not covered, I believe.
So you're saying we need an extra paragraph first saying that if the advice is that they won't be able to return to work, then obviously the employee will be dismissed. And I don't know whether we need to check with our HR professional if there's anything else that needs to go in there, just to make it absolutely clear. Okay.
I have some more. So on page 22, paragraph 3.2, at the last sentence, it talks about taking into account the operational realities of providing efficient, effective and competitive services. I don't see what the competitive is for. We're not in the business of competing with other town councils in Biggleswade.
Yes, so take competitive out, just say efficient and effective services. Anything else? Councillor Strawn then.
Yes, just coming back on the numbering at the beginning of this particular section, you've got on page 13, number 1 with the introduction. Logically, I think it should have been number 2 would be capability procedure, and then dealing with poor performance would be item number 3. But the trouble is that all has consequential amendments to it. It's but it's just going. It just doesn't look right at the moment.
Well, I think we've already asked Helen to look at that when she does the other changes. Councillor Foster.
I do apologise for nitpicking, I'm going to anyway. 10.2 on the absence policy, just the wording, it's following, depends on the employee following sickness reporting procedure. It should either be the sickness reporting procedure for sickness reporting procedures. And then if you look on paragraph 12.2, I think we were looking to try and not have he or she in the document. We've got a he or she in paragraph 12.2. So
it was a suggestion, it wasn't
So-
agreed to do that.
we've not done that.
So,
in others.
no, we've not done it.
Okay,
right,
that's
no.
fine. Okay. And I had one in 14.2 where false reasons have been given for absence, or you, the employee, have wrongly. So the employee should say, I'm concerned about the false reasons.
Can you just tell me which page you're on?
Oh, sorry, I beg your
please?
pardon, page 30. 14.2 on page 30.
Thank you.
So false reasons, I guess we probably need to understand what that is, but that's probably not for the policy particularly. But the wording on the second sentence, we've got the word have, and it should say the where or for the absence or the employee has, it should be.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah, agreed. Anything else, anybody on this? So we've got various changes to make, amendments. With those amendments that we've put on the table, are we happy for this policy to go forward now and be reviewed in another 4 years? Can I have a formal proposal, please?
I propose as you suggested, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All those in favour, please. Okay, so that's a unanimous approval of that policy with those changes that we've talked about. So we now go to the anti-bullying and harassment policy. If I can find it. Thank you. So colleagues, comments on this. I mean, the comments that have been made, the comment about having a note taker, we'll go through all the policies. Anything else that people want to raise, please? Councillor
I'm
Strong.
afraid just being very terribly pedantic in item 1 and 2 on page 42, towards the end, about 3, 4 lines up, it says with the council's apostrophe employees, there's only one council, so it should be council apostrophe S employees.
Right, yes. Anything else from anybody? This is a much shorter policy, of course. So if we're happy with that, can I have a proposal, please? Thank you, second. Yeah, and this would be again for review in 2028. Yeah, all those in favour, please. Thank you, that's approved. And then we're finally on to the grievance policy and procedure. Over to colleagues again in this. Anything that anybody wants to bring up? Are we content?
Content.
So could I have a proposal, please?
I propose to adopt the policy as laid out.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour, please. Thank you. That's unanimous again. Thank you, colleagues. There are no items for information. I'm assuming we still don't have members of the public, but you better check. No? Okay, thank you. In that case, are we happy to go into exempt session, colleagues, please? Move it.